we have to learn to let go and allow life to happen through us without any judgments, without any preconceived notions, just allowing life to be what it is.
We'll find in who we are. We choose between the left and right, the ups and downs, the darkness or the light. We'll find in who we are.
There's only one reform in life. When you and I stop living from our heads, you and I are here for one very solid reason, and that is to learn to be loving.
We're finding our way together, just you and me.
Namaste. The significance of our life moves far beyond the day we were born and the day that we die. We're going to look at right purpose as Buddha taught it. Come aspire with us.
Higher and higher until we finally sing. 'Cause when we seek, we find the answers. Life's a dance and we're all dancers. Aspire and just believe we can be everything. Aspire.
When you hear the name Buddha, do you picture a statue of a bald, fat man in your favorite Chinese restaurant? Maybe he is laughing, or maybe he is serene. Do you believe his life was fact or fiction? Buddha means the enlightened one. The man we call Buddha was Siddhartha Gautama, and he lived only 500 years before Jesus. Today, Buddha's teachings are the basis for one of the world's greatest religions with more than 180 million followers. Siddhartha Gautama's father was afraid that if his son were to see the futility of life, he might choose the spiritual path instead of the throne. So he went to great lengths to prevent Siddhartha from ever seeing any evidence of man's three inevitable sorrows: old age, illness, and death. Still, the seeds of enlightenment were sown early for Siddhartha. As he sat in peace and contentment under a tree in his father's field, he fell into a state of meditation. He vowed to someday pursue what he felt in his heart that afternoon. Siddhartha was married at the age of 16 and lived a tranquil life of luxury. In the 13th year of their marriage, they had a son. So far, the king's wishes for Siddhartha were all coming true. But one day, riding with his coachman, the two came upon an old man. "Why does he suffer so?" the prince asked. The coachman explained that the man was old and that Siddhartha would also grow old. Later, when they saw a sick man, the coachman admitted that Siddhartha would also suffer from illness. Then the two companions witnessed a funeral procession. His father's worst fears were realized. Now Siddhartha knew that he would someday experience illness, old age, and death. Next time, we will see the prince as he fulfills the prophecy of his birth. Right purpose, one of the most powerful teachings of Gautama Buddha. When I have trouble with, so to speak, my purpose, and I'm getting confused or I'm feeling as though I'm getting too desirous, I often like to take a walk in a cemetery. Sometimes it seems a bit ghoulish, but it really works well for me because this puts everything back in perspective. My whole life is in perspective when I'm here because all of these people here are a lot like me. They had dreams and they had ambitions and they had goals and they had objects. A lot of these people fought and died for a lot of things that just aren't worth fighting and dying for. And a lot of our suffering in life is caused for one basic reason, and that is we have kind of a weird sense of purpose about our life. We think that the purpose of our life is to gain power, money, prestige, objects, fame, fortune. When you come to a graveyard and you see that this is where we all wind up, one way or the other, it kind of puts things in deep perspective about what our purpose is in life and what we should be doing with our life. And maybe the word should is not a good one to use here, is it? I don't really believe in shoulds, but I do feel that there is something called right purpose in life, and right purpose is really very important. Right purpose is not the things that I get, or the things I accomplish, or the things that I do. People have a measuring stick about life, and the measuring stick of their life is how much did they do, how many children did they have, what did their children do with their life, how much money did they make, what other people think of us. If that is the purpose of your life, and if you feel somehow within yourself that what other people think of you and how much you possess and how much you have and what your children are doing are the right purposes of your life or the purpose of your life, you're going to suffer a great deal. I hear people say they suffer. Well, I guess that's life, or that's the way it is. But I don't think so. I think we suffer in life because we don't know what our deep purposes are. We haven't got a sense of purpose. We think that our purposes are to have things rather than to become, to be ourselves. I will suffer my entire life, never being happy, never finding a sense of inner achievement or fulfillment, if I am only looking out in life thinking that out there there's something there that is to be achieved and to be done and to be made done by me. My accomplishments mean nothing in life. The only true accomplishment in my life is an accomplishment of myself, to have my own sense of presence in my own life. If I am looking outside of my life for some sort of significance to my living, I'm missing it. And let me give you one other little key. There is no real meaning to life. People want to have some sort of meaning in their life, and they think that they have some sort of spiritual destiny or some sort of mystical destiny. We don't have mystical spiritual destinies. There is no real reason or purpose for our life at all. The purpose of life is no purpose. We're here just to live and to be here in the present moment, to find ourselves as ourselves, not what other people want us to be, not what religion has told us we should be. We have kind of a weird sense of understanding about life. Do you know we live more for our death than we do our life? Most religions teach only one thing: do good in this world and then in the hereafter, a place that nobody has ever been back from, telling us, yes, there are pearly gates and golden streets and all of that, a place called heaven. We live for a myth. We don't even live for the things that are really true. If you're living for tomorrow, if you're living for some hereafter, you're not living your life. And again, we're missing the purpose of being right here. Our destiny is to be ourselves, to come home to our heart, not to be looking outside of ourselves for something that we don't understand, some mythological place that doesn't really exist. If we're going to find meaning and purpose, right purpose as Buddha talked about, then right purpose is being present in the moment. For Greg and for you and for everyone, not to be worried about our accomplishments in life, what our children are doing, or how many things we can gather in our life in the form of money and fame and power, but to find ourselves. And maybe for one moment in our life to find ourselves so deeply that love is actually possible. That I'm not looking outside of myself for significance and meaning and reason for my life. That for one very important moment in my living, I have found myself. When Jesus said, "Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and its righteousness," he wasn't talking about waiting for death. He was talking about having it now, in this moment. Buddha gave us the most beautiful teaching, right purpose, not to squander this life on things that cannot bring us a meaning and a sense of deep significance. In just a moment, I want to talk about your purpose in life and having presence in that purpose. We'll be right back. Please don't go away. Welcome back to Aspire. I look around here and I see the accomplishment of what most people achieve in their life. You know, for all the things that you get and all the things that you do and all the things that you and I have, this is basically what we get at the end. You know, the old joke comes into play that you can't take it with you. You and I, humankind, lives between the known and the unknown. And what we think that we know about ourselves is really not the truth of us. And the unknown part of us is the part that very few people ever seek to realize. There's much more to you and to me than the beginning and the end of our life being something like this. If you come here to a graveyard, you see the day that a person was born, the day they died. Sometimes they have a little inscription that says, in loving memory. Who cares? Nobody ever really sees this. And as I sit here, I was just thinking, the only difference between this person and me is that they're there and I'm here. Most of us are dead anyway, aren't we? We think we have some sort of reason for living and that we're alive because we're moving around. But what is death? If I don't know what my real inner purpose is in life, I am dead already. And that's what the work is all about. That's what Buddha was trying to say to us. Right purpose is having presence in our own life. Most of us just live our life to get through it, to survive, to get objects and things. We think that money and power and prestige are going to give us a sense of reason and purpose for our life. So we sit up here on the earthly plane while they sit underneath the earth, and we think that they're dead and we're not. I hardly think so. I think the only thing that we do is we often take up space on this earth because we don't realize that there's something greater than what we're doing. It is in our beingness that life is found. It's in our understanding that life is found. It's in our hearts that life is found. For everything that we do, the bottom line of life is we get this. But for everything that we are, something else happens. It is a very rare moment when any one of us in this earthly plane as human beings begins to see a reason that is greater than themselves, a purpose that is greater than themselves, something that is beyond what they do and accomplish and what they have and what they can get. And when a person realizes that higher purpose, a magic begins to occur. Life begins to bloom and blossom and happen. The sad part about it is that most of us give up. We give up on ourselves so quickly. We lose our sense of presence in our living for some sort of imagined purpose, an imaginary purpose where we think that if we're president of the world or if we're a person who is very important, that people will look up to us and people will love us more and that we will love ourselves more, which is simply untrue. I know people who, like Don Quixote, are chasing windmills all of their life, thinking if they get this, if they get that, they'll be happy. If they go here, if they see that, they'll be happy. We measure our life by what we do and get, not by who we are. The real test of the Eightfold Path, of Buddha's beautiful teaching of right purpose, is the ability to have presence within yourself. If I don't have me in my living, I don't have anything. If you haven't got yourself, what do you have? And that's the key to life. The key to life is not where you go and what you do, what you have. It's who you are. Spend some time with who you are. Get to know this person. You know, the most frightening thing that people face in life is meditation. And do you know why we as Westerners particularly do not like meditation? It's because we have to be alone with ourselves. And that's the very key to life. To spend some time being alone with the one that you live with. It's frightening to us because we are so used to being padded and distracted. We think that life is cars going by and trains and objects and children and people and things, and we miss out on life. We're so padded. We listen to the noise of life, the hectic pace of life, and then we lose life. And what do we get after all of that? 6 feet. That's all. One of my very favorite stories about a friend of mine, believe it or not, he was being buried and he had a junkyard. And it was very interesting. The rabbi at the funeral said, Morty, all of his life, reminded me of the man who went to the czar. And the czar said to him, you can have all the land that you could walk in a day. So the man was greedy and he walked for miles and miles in the desert and he dropped dead. And then the rabbi says, Morty reminds me of this man because in the end, all he ever really got was 6 feet. And that's about what we are. We do the very same thing. We'll spend our whole life chasing after windmills, things, objects, and people. And the bottom line, they can't give us the purpose or the reason for our life, because that, my friend, is submerged very deeply, but very simply in your heart. If there is anything that you seek, don't seek after the treasure that perishes, the meat that perishes. Seek after your heart. That's where life is found. I'll be right back and give you some how-tos. Please don't go away. Let me go back in the Eightfold Path and give you some how-tos on right purpose, because this is really very important. Everybody tries to rationalize why they're here and what we've done, and we try to make what we've done significant. First thing I want you to remember is this. No matter what you've done for other people, no matter what you've built or how many children you have and how proud of them you are and all of that stuff, remember, it doesn't matter what's happened around you. What really matters is what's happened within you. And if nothing has really happened in this life within you in the form of seeing things as they really are, doing away with the illusions and the self-aggrandizement, then we've missed our purpose in life. Spend some time, rather than patting yourself on the back or beating yourself for what you've done in your life, beginning to see why and how things come into being and fall away. I like what Buddha says. Spend some time, one day, in contemplation. Begin to see how things start, how they arise, and how they fall away. If you can see the process of that, and that is the Tao of life, you'll be able to see how life works, because life does not have a goal or a specific end to it. It's an interesting thing. It's really an eternity thing. It's a continuum. So don't be looking for meaning in your life by what you've done. Look for meaning in life by who you really are. Another thing that needs to be looked at very deeply within us. What makes us happy? What makes us unhappy? Most of the sorrow and the suffering that you and I face in our life is due to ourselves. We have some outlandish ideas about what we think life should be. We think life should be one pleasure trip after another, one pleasurable thing after another, and because we live our life only for pleasure, we miss the significance of suffering. The object of life is not to eliminate suffering. The object of life is to understand why we suffer. One of the reasons we suffer is because of desire. We have so many desires in our life, and our mind keeps bringing up more and more and more desire. Your mind is an endless desire. When we drop our mind, we find significance in our life, and significance is found not in the things we own, but in the person that we are. So begin to embrace your suffering a little bit. Begin to understand your suffering. Don't be afraid of it. Move into it, not away from it. And as far as the pleasurable things are concerned, enjoy them as well, because you'll find that there is celebration in the deepest suffering and that there is sadness even in the deepest happiness. If you begin to see that, you will neutralize all of this mind game that you and I play and begin to see the purpose of life is going within. Next thing, learn what it means to have and be enough. You and I live in excess all the time. We want excess amount of money. We want excess amount of good. We want excess amount of everything. Everything is in excess. And as long as you and I are living in extremes, we'll never find significance, presence, and the deeper purpose of our life. We have to be willing to go deeper in our life and not live for excess. Don't live to accumulate. Let go of those things which you accumulate that by giving them away takes away from you. Only seek to accumulate those things that by giving them away empowers you. And when you do that, which is love, you have found a deeper purpose in your life than yourself. You have found your original self, not your egotistical side, but your real self. And that's what we're all looking for, isn't it? Out of all the things that these people in this graveyard achieved, how many of them do you really think achieved unconditional love? Because that's all we're looking for. In everything that I get, in everything that I have, in everything I'm looking for, I'm really only looking for love. And it's always been within me, and I've been looking for it outside of me, in another thing or an accomplishment or what in other people think of me, which is the next thing I want to share with you. Don't be concerned about what people think of you. If your purpose is bent on pleasing another person, If you will give your life over to another person and say, I want to please my parents, I want to make this person proud of me, I want people to speak good of me or well of me, you've missed it. People are never going to speak well of anybody. We've had many heroes in our society, and a lot of them have fallen because we find out they have frailties and they have faults. Everybody has them. So don't be trying to live up to some purpose of what other people want you to be. Be very courageous inside and very daring. Dare to make mistakes, dare to be yourself, dare to be whole. Dare to say I'm sorry, and dare to understand the nature of yourself, which simply means that you're a part of this human experience. It is not to be condemned, it is simply there to be utilized. It's a bridge to your divine. When Buddha was giving us right purpose, he wasn't saying, live to go to heaven or go to hell. He was saying, live in the moment. Be daring enough to live from your heart. That is one of the most important teachings in life, one of the most important teachings in the Eightfold Path. Namaste. Welcome to my home. I enjoy doing this one in the graveyard, and graveyards always have a way of waking me up. They're not somber places to me. For me, they're kind of a reminder of what this whole trip is about and what it really means, because when you get to the graveyard, who cares what you've done with your life? What really matters is who you are. So I hope this particular edition of Aspire in the Eightfold Path on Right Purpose was very helpful to you. Take a walk this week in a graveyard. Take a quiet walk. Feel what it is like. See how you feel about yourself in it. See if you don't feel something changing in you. Graveyards are wonderful places for meditation, and they offer a tremendous amount of personal insight. Please remember, Buddha's teachings is not to make a religion again, but to help awaken us. I love what Buddha said, be a light unto yourself. Those were his last words. And what he was saying is, give yourself over to the light. You don't need another religion, you don't need another guru, you don't need another savior. It's all within yourself. Sometimes when we take a little walk through such a thing as a graveyard, something that most people are most afraid of in their life, the end of their life, or what they think is, it offers tremendous insight, and we can see the light that lives in ourselves. I really love receiving your cards and your letters, and I do really appreciate your financial support. I know you hear a lot of religions talking about sending them money to keep them on the air, but we're not a religion here. We just offer a unique alternative to not a philosophical idea, but a spiritual pathway. And if you feel that this program has helped you at all, I hope you'll support it with your tax-deductible gift. Next week, we're going to continue in our series on Aspire, and we're going to be working with Buddha's teaching on right speech. I hope you'll plan to be with us. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.